Hello, 1C. I thought today I might share with you a chapter book. Now, I think you probably remember Laura. Do you remember reading about Laura in 1C? We read lots of picture books about Laura and her family. Do you remember Little House on the Prairie? Yes. So, boys and girls, we really enjoyed learning about Laura. So, I thought you might like to read one of these chapter books. Look at the title, The Adventures of Laura and Jack. You know which one Jack is. Jack is Laura's bulldog. And you know how much that Laura loves Jack. So I thought we could enjoy some of these stories. And I love the setting here. Look, you can see Laura's little house in the background. I love the prairie flowers. You remember, boys and girls, that a prairie has lots of grass and lots of flat land to run and play. So we're going to start reading, and I hope you enjoy it. Maybe a little later you can tell Mom and Dad all about Laura and her family. I bet you remember a lot about them. So as I'm reading, maybe think about the theme or the main idea about Chapter 1, Laura and Jack. As far as Laura could remember, Jack was there when Laura, Mary, Ma, Pa, and baby Carrie lived in the big woods of Wisconsin. They never had to worry about the bears and the wild cats that roamed the forest. Jack stood guard every night. He was a watchdog, and it was his job to keep the family safe. Jack was a bulldog. He had a stocky body and short legs. His light brown fur was short, with darker brown streaks through it. He had a large head and strong square jaws. So boys and girls, take a look at this. I love this setting. There's Jack. Good old bulldog Jack. I know some of you are bulldog fans, so you love Jack, don't you? I even like Jack. Even though I'm a Yellow Jacket fan, I like Jack too. When Jack was guarding the family, he looked very stern and fierce. But with Laura and Mary, he was always gentle. Laura was a very little girl in those days. Mary was a bit older, and she was quiet and good. Laura liked to run and play with Jack. There were no other children living nearby. There wasn't even another house in sight, just trees and more trees. Laura and Jack weren't allowed to stray into the woods, but there was lots to do right around the little house, especially if you were a dog. In the summer, Jack had squirrels to chase and birds to bark at. At night, he protected Ma's garden from the deer that lived in the woods. The garden was planted behind the cabin. During the day, the deer wouldn't come so close to the house, but at night, they got very brave and jumped the fence. If it hadn't been for Jack, those deer would have eaten all Ma's carrots and cabbages. Jack ran after them and chased them out. In the morning, Laura would find little hoof prints among the turnips and Jack's paw prints right beside them. So, boys and girls, what does that mean? If Laura would see hoof prints and then she would see Jack's paw prints, yes, he was shooing them out of Ma's garden. He was protecting the garden so that they could keep their food safe. They needed it because, boys and girls, remember, they did not have grocery stores. There wasn't a Kroger or a Publix or a Target. Ma and Pa had to grow their food, and they did not need the deer eating it. In the fall, Ma and Pa were busy storing food for the winter. They gathered the turnips and cabbage and beets and piled them in the cellar. Ma braided onions into long ropes and hung them in the attic above heaps of pumpkins and squash. Pa brought deer meat home to be smoked and salted. In the winter, the little log house was snug against the cold. Laura and Jack curled up by the fireside while Pa told stories and played his. Boys and girls, do you remember? What does Pa like to play? Did you say the fiddle? Yes, Pa played his fiddle. Outside, the wind moaned. Sometimes at night, a wolf howled beside the walls of the little log cabin. Laura knew wolves would eat little girls, but she could look out from her bed and see Jack pacing back and forth in front of the door. The hair stood up along his back, and he showed his sharp teeth. Pa promised her that Jack would never let wolves get in. Laura snuggled underneath the covers next to Mary, feeling safe and cozy. One day, when spring was just around the corner, Pa made an announcement. "I've decided to go see the West," he said. So, boys and girls, right now, Laura and her family are living in the big woods of Wisconsin. So that's where her little log cabin is. All the trees. So Pa is making a decision that he and the family should move out west. So, boys and girls, that is where the prairie will be. That's where the grasslands are, lots of flat land, lots of grass, the wind.